Now, with that being said, let's get the vibe right a little bit. Come on now.
Okay. Got some music.
Yeah, come on.
Hey.
I never knew there was a
Nice intro.
love like this before.
This the first part of 2024.
Woo!
No?
We setting the pace.
Yeah, that's right.
Love like this before. Now that we have come to be a brand new life I can see. Never thought you'd be a special part of me.
Welcome, y'all. Another episode of LYP.
The reasons are because of you. I can go on and make it through. I can't even take my mind off loving you. And I wanna say I never knew there was a love like this before. A love like this before, no. Never had someone to show me a love. Love like this before. I know you can't see all the things you mean to me. I'm so amazed that you are mine.
Just vibe with us. We're going to get started here in a minute.
Yeah. If we can work
No, it ain't live.
together,
It's just pre-recorded.
maybe this can last forever. This is something that I wanna hold on to. So baby, try to understand. I'd be crazy if you cause you compliment my style. And I like the way you walk and the way you walk, the way you talk. You don't know just what you do to me. You see, I never knew there was a love like this before. A love like this before, no. Never had someone to show me a love. Oh, I never had a love like this before. I never knew there was a love like this before. Never had someone to show me a love. Love like this before. Understand, I'd be crazy if you leave. That should compliment my style. I like the way you walk and the sexy things you talk. You don't know just what you do to me. You see, I never knew like this before. Never knew like this before. I never knew there was a love like this before.
Yes. Good morning. Happy 2024 to everybody. Welcome everybody to another episode of Leah Purpose Podcast. I'm your host, John Morgan Jr. And again, this is the first episode of 2024. 2024. Look at me stuttering on my words. Y'all can tell it's the first one of the year. You know, let me knock my rust off real quick. But I'm super excited to be here with y'all, man. I'm super excited to be back recording. I'm super excited to get back to having these dope conversations with dope people that we really rock with. And this guest that we have on today, man, I don't even feel comfortable with reading off her intro or her bio that the internet says anything like that. So I'm gonna allow her to introduce herself, herself to really tell y'all who she is. And I connected with her story years ago, and as y'all know, y'all hear me say all the time on this podcast, I'm a big believer in things being in divine order and things happening in the way that they're supposed to, and things usually more times than not they are lined up, right? And things happen the way they're supposed to. And I met this individual really on accident, right? You know what I'm saying? But, on purpose as well. We were in an event down in Columbus a few months ago, watching the good brother Swoop. He was on the We Go On tour with John O. They're promoting an event that they were doing down there. And I had the pleasure of being a guest to kind of be a facilitator, to do just like some breathing and meditation to kind of get the crowd grounded, just to, add some energy to kind of get people settled, in the space. And after I got off the stage, after I did my little piece, this lady, she came up to me. She said, "Thank you." She introduced me to herself. She said, "Thank you." I said that I was from Akron. She said, "I'm from Akron as well. I work down in the city. And, thank you for what you did. I appreciate it. You did a really good job." And I appreciated that. I'm a words of affirmation person, so I always appreciate, getting affirmed and things like that. But in that moment when she told me her name, I knew that was not the first time I had heard it. And for the next day, it had really messed me up. It had racked my brain. I'm like, damn, where do I know her from, right? And I never forget, I'm driving home with Sierra, and I said, yo, I think I know who that lady is. I think I know where I recognize her from. And I got on Google, and I looked. I said, yo, it's her. So without, further ado, man, we have Kelley Williams-Bolar here with us. And Kelley, thank you so much for being here. It is an honor to have you. I'm so grateful to have you here, for real. I'm so excited to hear your story from you, because it's one thing to read it and, hear saying things like that. But I connected with your story, and I'm going to get into it a little bit later on, why so. But thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for
having me. And just tell people a little bit about who you are, right? And share a little bit about your story. We're going to get into the deep dive, but let them hear from you. Who are you? Who is Kelley Williams-Bolar?
Okay, first, I just want to say thank you so much for inviting me. This is a true honor.
No problem.
This is Akron,
No doubt.
I've been, I've never had to do a podcast here or been offered or, so that's a true honor in itself.
Wow.
My name is Kelley Williams-Bolar. I'm a mom. I'm a person who is, I cherish time in life, I am a person that understands the value of time in life. I have two beautiful daughters. They're young ladies now. They're in their 20s. One's 25, one's 29. Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh. And they're doing well, and those were the two that I would fight for and that I did fight for.
So, all right, so I really want to kind of just dive. Well, before we even go, into your daughters and into your story, let's talk a little bit about just you, right?
Okay.
Let's start at the very beginning. What was little Kelley like? Like when you reflect back on yourself as a little girl, as a child, what was little Kelley like? What would you look back on and look at yourself now like, dang, I really was such and such. What was little Kelley like?
Just looking back, so I have two amazing parents, right? I have my father and my mother. And, they had their issues when we were really small. And so I just remember, trying to understand, who am I? Mm-hmm. Just looking back, our family was a tight-knit family. Mm-hmm. My mom, dad, and me and my brother. And if you ask me, who are you? I to me, was a part of the puzzle of this beautiful little family. We were my uncles and aunts and all of them used to say the family.
Right.
So we were the family.
Right.
And as a little girl, I think I was just, I think I was very sweet. I think I was very loving. I wasn't a bully. I wasn't mean. I wasn't, obnoxious or anything like that. I was just a typical little girl. Mm-hmm. I went to Schumacher, went to Stewart. I lived in Ohio. I lived in East Point, Georgia. I lived in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Okay. Lived around a little bit, and stuff. But I was just a typical young little girl, just making my way. I had some things that happened to me that were uniquely to my life. I know that. I remember I'm gonna tell you this quick story. Mm-hmm. I remember when I was a baby. And, back in my time, you didn't necessarily have to have a car seat, right? So in our family, in my father's side of the family, it would be the family, like my grandmother, my aunts and cousins, would go grocery shopping together, right? So they would go to this meat packing place, right? So I remember this story. Now, this happened to me, but I was such a baby that I don't remember it. I just remember what everyone's told me about it, talks about. So so everybody gets back in the car. They put all the food in there. It's me and my brother. We're in the back seat. My brother's only like 2 years, maybe like a year and a half older than me. Yeah. And so my mom and dad is in the car. I'm in the back. And they drive off and get on the highway. And I fall out the car.
On the highway?
On the highway. This is a highway. It's a big highway.
How old were you?
I wasn't walking yet.
Oh my goodness.
So I know that I wasn't walking yet. So, and I was in a onesie or something, like a bundle, like, a little onesie outfit. And my mother told me, and my dad froze. My dad was like, he could see me in the rear view. And so he froze. And my mom, he was like, Kelley, she's in the middle of the highway. Now, so my mother said she jumped out the car. She said the car was still rolling. She jumps out the car. She says she's running down the highway like this, head on with a Greyhound. She head on. She like, please don't. She just screaming, head on, going straight towards the Greyhound. She said there wasn't no other vehicle on the highway but this Greyhound. She said, and it was coming full speed. She said, and I was just laying there like a rag doll. And she said, and that Greyhound man saw me and he swerved that Greyhound around. And then he parked it. Said everybody on the Greyhound got off. Everybody was like, what on earth? And my mom said she just remembered just grabbing me, holding me, just freaking out, you know.
Right.
And nothing was wrong with me. Just fell out the car,
How the hell did you fall out the car? Did you open the door? Like, was the door not closed? How did
to this day, if I want, would you like for me to call my mom and let her tell you the story? Would you like that?
Yeah, go ahead. Call your mama. See what will mama say, please.
Let's see.
Hold the phone to the mic too, so she can tell it. Tell her you on the podcast, so you can tell it. So she can tell it.
Okay. I hope she answers. I know she gonna answer. Answer the phone, Mom.
Come on, Ma.
There she go. Hey, Ma, can you see me? Hey, listen, I'm here. I'm on the podcast, right? But no, nobody can see you. Don't worry, nobody can see you.
You good, Ma? We can't see you.
Okay. So he asked an interesting question. He said, what kind of person was I when I was a little girl, right? Uh-huh. Can you turn the TV down? Yeah. Okay. So he asked me that. Then I don't know. Something made me tell him about the story of when I fell out the car. Yeah. So just can you kind of reiterate what I said?
You fell out the car?
Yeah. Tell the story.
Oh, wow.
Hold the phone up to the speaker. Yeah.
All right. We had gone. We went to the meat packing house, and so when we pulled into the meat packing house, some kind of way. Well, we took you guys inside with us, okay? Mm-hmm. And then when we came back, we come back out to put the food in the car. And back then, you didn't have to have on the baby seat and all that stuff.
It wasn't a rule. It wasn't a law.
It wasn't a mandatory,
right?
And stuff. And so anyway, so we put the kids back in the car, and we went back into the meat packing house, me and your dad, to get the food, get the rest of the food. And then when we came out, we're thinking that you guys are in the car and the car is secure, but evidently I don't know if somebody messed with that door or what. But when we went back, when we pulled to go back, got in the car, went to take off, you went out the door.
Wow.
On that side, and it was a 6-lane highway. I'll never forget that.
Wow.
That thing, oh God, it was huge. And when we pulled out, and I think your dad, it's been so long, I think your dad said, because he was driving, he was looking in the mirror, he says, where's Kelley? I think that's what he said. So I looked back, and I said, oh my God. And I looked back on the highway, oh my God. I jumped out of the car while I was moving. and the cop and he couldn't stop quick enough for me to get out. So I had to run down the highway because Lamont was like,
In shock.
I'm through. Yeah, I'm just through. I can't deal with this. So I jumped out of the car, run down the highway. I was in the middle of the highway, running down the main strip, the red line going down the highway.
Yellow line.
Waving my hands like going back and forth, because you were down there on the street. I could see you like a rag on the ground. So I had to just let, and this bus was coming. This Greyhound bus, I'll never forget it. But that bus was humming. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Man, you gotta stop. Stop that bus, stop that bus, stop that bus. I was running down the main highway, just running.
Wow.
And the guy swerved around like that after he got to see that there was a baby in the middle of the street instead of a rag. And oh my God, oh gosh, that was.
I can hear it in your voice right now. It's still hard to relive it. It sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
Say what now?
He said it's still hard to. He said he can hear it in your voice. The passion, what you're talking about is still hard to relive it right now.
Oh yes, it was traumatizing, and she was good. We took her to the hospital. She was fine. I think she had a little scratch on her or something on her face or something. I think, but they had to see about me because I was the one having the trip, cardiac arrest.
So, Mom, can you hear me?
Man, that was crazy. I was like, how in the world could I let that happen? I was like, how did that happen?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. So my name is John Morgan. Thank you so much for doing this. So can I ask you a question?
Sure.
At that moment, right? And kind of even looking back on it now, were you able to see, or are you able to see now? Was it something that you felt that it was special about Kelley in that moment? As like, okay, this little girl has to be special for something like that to happen and only walk out of it with a scratch.
Well, yeah, Kelley's always been special. She's always had this stuff about her. When she was a little girl, she never got upset about things. She was always so calm. She was so grown. As they say, such a little woman.
Mm-hmm.
She was a little woman.
Yeah.
She was so grown. She didn't get mad or she didn't cry a lot. She didn't do none of that kind of stuff. She was when I trained her to go to use the potty, she just went right into it. I didn't have a lot of problems out of Kelley with anything. Kelley was a little lady.
Well, that's good to know. I didn't know all that.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Ma. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Ma. Love you. I'll see you in a little bit.
All right. Love you too.
Bye-bye.
You guys have a nice day.
You too. Thank you so much. Wow, that's special. That's special. So how is that for you hearing that, right? Like hearing your mother relive that, you know what I'm saying?
This is every time. How she just said it then is how she's always said it. And I remember my father's passed on, but when he was alive, I remember him just would always sit there and listen, and then he would kind of, reiterate what she said, but kind of like it just plays out in my mind how the position was, how it was reenacted in my mind, just how, because even like how she just said that, and when her and my father would talk about it together, and she would say, well, he would just sit there in the car and he was just looking in the rearview mirror, kind of like a log, just like like in shock. He just couldn't move, and so anytime that they would talk about that, it was kind of like the same scenario. He would just sit. He would just sit there and was like, yeah, I didn't know what to do, and then she would just go and reenact and do all this and talk about, how she was running down the highway and stuff. So it's a lot of, that's unique. I just.
Yeah, no, that is, especially to walk away with only a scratch.
Yeah.
That means that you'd had covering on you for a long time, long time.
Yeah.
So all right, so I want to fast forward a little bit, and just to kind of how we got connected, and go into a little bit about your story that I know about your story. So paint the picture for me, right? So what I remember hearing about your story was, in 2011, you had 2 daughters.
Yes.
And you sent both of them to Copley-Fairlawn District schools.
Yes.
Right. All right. So in 2011, you sent your girls to Copley School. What grade were they in at the time?
One was in 4th grade, and one was going to middle school. She was at the middle school. 6th. The Copley is 7th and 8th grade.
So the middle school is 5th through 8th.
Yes.
The elementaries, they got a couple different elementaries or whatever.
Arrowhead.
Right. Fort Island and Herbert.
Yes. Yep.
Right.
I think they went to Arrowhead. My youngest one, Jada, went to Arrowhead, and my oldest one, Kayla, went to the middle school.
Which are right around the corner from each other.
Literally.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So what I remember hearing about your story was you sent your 2 girls to school, and at this time. At this timeline, this is when people were a lot more black folks were sending their kids to Copley, right? You know, to try to get what people consider to be a better education,
Right.
Right. And the way that we did that was you somebody's address who lived in the district.
Yes.
That's the way that you circumvented the system to be able to get through it, and that was just a thing, right? That was a thing that people just did, right? And have been doing since the beginning of time.
Yes.
All in good faith.
I did not invent it.
Right.
They made it sound
No.
I did not.
That has been going, and that has been taking place in sports.
Yes.
That has been taking place for parochial school, like
Yes.
across the board. That has been going on since day one. That has been a thing, and people know this is what's going on, right? You sent your girls to Copley schools, and then I remember hearing. I just remember hearing that I don't know if they expelled your girls, but something happened where the legal system got involved
Okay, so
quickly. So can you just paint the picture for me?
Okay.
Tell me what happened during that time.
okay, so my daughters were there in 07 and 08.
Okay.
They were there for 2 years.
Okay.
They started in 06 to 07 and then 07 to 08. That's
Okay.
so 2 years. So my mom and dad lived in Copley. They lived on Black Pine.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad let me go back. So I was married. I had been married for 10 years. I got a divorce, and I ended up moving on Metropolitan Housing on Hartford Street.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a nice home and everything. But my daughters went to Stewart and Schumacher, and they were. It wasn't a bad school.
Yeah, the environment wasn't right.
The academically, everything was not where it needed to be. So my dad kept telling me every year, he was like, just bring them out here. I'm paying taxes. I live here. I got, it was just bring them here, and I was like, nah, I won't do that. Then one year I was like, okay. So that spring I went to the elementary school to get the forms to fill out. And at the middle school, you can, if I can remember, I think you can do the forms for the middle school and all of that. They had the paperwork. So I got the paperwork, saw the principal there. He was there that day. He showed me around. Top-notch school.
What school? What year is this?
This is an 07, 06, 07. They went 06, 07. And because Kayla came out, I'm thinking that because you said you came out.
07. I came out of high school in 07.
Oh, okay, no, she was 4 years younger because she's 29.
Okay, yeah, she's a little bit younger than me.
So, okay.
6 years younger than me.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So he was showing me around. I'm like, man, they got an ecosystem. They got land over here. They got gardens. They got the top-notch computer systems, everything.
Who was the principal? Do you remember?
I can't remember.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
So, but he was an older white guy at the Arrowhead elementary school.
Okay.
So I do that. Give them all my information, and the first year nothing really happened. They would come and randomly knock on your door and be like, "Can I go in your bathroom? Can I look at your toothbrushes? Can I see?"
Who was they?
Oh, they hired a woman to. I don't know exactly how, but they hired a woman to come to your house to see if you're living in the house.
And you was with your father?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was with my parents.
With your parents, excuse me.
And my dad was such a man that he made my mom seem like she didn't exist in this. Mm-hmm. And so nobody ever heard anything about my mother.
Got it.
Because he just protected her. But anyway, so Yeah, so my kids started, they went there the first year. That was the only thing that was anything that raised any kind of, why is this, why they, but that's what they said they did, that they would just come to see to make sure you live in the home. And so it's like, all right. So they came the first year, nothing big. It was the second year. The second year, they wrote a letter saying, we have clear and convincing evidence that you do not live in the district because we hired a private investigator to follow you around for 2 weeks. And I'm like, what? Huh? So we had to go to this meeting out there, and we went to the meeting, and they were just saying, yeah, if you don't live there, and so we tried to get something called the grandparent power of attorney, which we did. I went down to the juvie court, Judge Teodosio, filled out the form, got grandparent power of attorney. Well, they didn't want it. Guess it was too little, too late. They didn't want it, right? So. But we didn't know, we didn't know. My kids kept going because we gave them the grandparent power of attorney. And in the paperwork, they do take the grandparent power of attorney. But they fought against it because they didn't want my kids out there. And my kids were not disruptive. They weren't bad. They did not have any behaviors. Academically, they were fine. They weren't geniuses, but they were fine. And next thing I know, so that June, Judge Teodosio sent me a letter saying, just remove them. I was like, all right. I removed them. 18 months later. That's how come you hear 2011. 18 months later. It was going into 2011. It was 2010. That November, right before all the holidays. I remember this because it just messed up. I was just messed up. I was distraught. I got this indictment in a form of a postcard. And it came in the mail, and it said Ohio versus Kelley Williams-Bolar. And I'm like, what is this? Now, mind you, my kids hadn't been there in 18 months. They had not been at that school or that district. Kayla had been back at Bookto, and my little one had been, she was going to Emmanuel. So she had came back and went to Schumacher. But since the district wasn't, that cluster wasn't performing where it needed to be, you were able to get Ed Choice. So Ed Choice, I was able to take her to Emmanuel. Mm-hmm. So she went to Emmanuel. So they both were at Emmanuel.
Had been there for a whole different school year.
18 months later. One was at Emmanuel, and Kayla was a freshman at Bookto with me. I was working there at the old building. And so I get this postcard. I'm like, what is this? Ohio versus Kelley Williams-Bolar. I called my dad. I was like, Daddy, I got this postcard. It says, I told him what it says. He said, come on over. And I drove out there and went to his mailbox. He had it too. So then we was like, what is this? I still did not know because I was like, it can't be Copley. It's too many years. I mean, that was a long time ago. We took the kids out. And that's the one thing that they never wanted the media to know, that my kids had been gone.
This is the first time I ever heard that.
They made it.
You can't even find that on any type of media articles and things like that.
No, they never said that. They never ever. They made it sound like they was out there. And what frustrated me so much is a lot of the teachers, think, you guys, think. Because the teachers were giving my kids, especially at Bookto, they were giving my kids, giving my oldest one such bad slack. It's like, think, she's in your classroom right now. And she's been here for over a year. Think, this is a while back. So, but anyway, that's when it started. So me and my dad went to the court. We sat there in the court, and I remember just sitting there, and I remember just looking around. And I had never been in a courtroom. I had never been in a courtroom before. And I just remember seeing people coming in, shackled up, and it was intense. It's like you seen rapists, murderers. You seen people that was there to make sure nobody would ever get out of jail again because they murdered a family member or they raped someone. And we in there like, what on earth did we do to get to be out here with these people? This is nuts, And then when they called our name and the number on the card, we went up there, and it was Copley versus us. And we were like, dang. It was like, okay. And so I didn't have any money. And my dad, he had gotten sick, so he used to have his own business and stuff. He was thriving and doing his thing. And he got, he had a stroke, and he had gotten sick, so he wasn't able to. We were struggling trying to get an attorney and different things of that nature and stuff. But finally, we got this one attorney, and he was not And back then, I didn't know that attorneys is kind of like doctors. Attorneys are for every particular specialties.
Right.
And his was for drug dealers.
Right.
So why would I?
Right.
But my friends, bless my friend's heart. But a lot of my friends, their dudes or friends, they were in that life.
Right.
So they was like, hey, get him.
Right. He didn't help get such and such off and beat this case.
Yes,
I
but
know
he was
worked for this, but he don't have no type of expertise in what service you need. Right.
None.
Right.
None. So anyway, so we got him, and he took me and my dad on together, and I should have known then that was an issue because
That's a conflict.
A conflict of interest, right? But I didn't know, and so you can still see some of the footage that me and my dad are sitting there together with him, and yeah, that was crazy, man. That was an experience I'll never forget. Like,
So all right, so how did they make a case for that when and who was pushing the issue? Was it the school district? Was it a certain school? Was it the superintendent? Who was really pushing the issue to take legal action, right, at that time? So
I think it had to be the treasurer and the superintendent. But I'm not for certain. Like, I can't say for certain. But those two were the ones that was there during the trial.
And so what was the judge's explanation and reasoning for taking on the case and for like saying that they had a case when you had removed the kids and you had proof that TDOCO had been the one to tell you, hey, she told me to remove them. I did that.
Yeah.
So how were you guys following up with legal action
Right.
18 months later?
Right, because
What was their rationale at that time? Do you remember?
I just think it was because they were saying that I owed them almost $70,000 of a public education. So it all comes down to the money.
The money. Mm-hmm.
You know, they were saying you owe $35,000 for each child, and I didn't have the money. I didn't have it. I didn't have anything. You know, I just got a divorce. I was living on Metropolitan Housing. I was in college trying to finish my degree. You know, so it was very thick and just the energy was just at a level I had never experienced in my life.
What do you remember? Did you at any point in time did you ever feel like you were going to be incarcerated? Did you ever feel like that was a possibility? Did you think that it was like, all right, they're going to probably just make me pay some money? They're going to be on my ass a little bit. Did you ever think that it was going to come down to that?
When you get an indictment is criminal, right? And I got a quick one-on-one lesson because I had never been in any trouble before, and so. I didn't know. And I was like, well, I've never been in trouble before. They was like, this is serious. Like, they're saying that grand theft, tampering with documents. It was like 3 different charges. They put 3 different charges. It was grand theft, tampering with documents, and something else. I can't remember. But anyway, it was a lot of charges. So I wasn't just going to, I didn't know. I was like, I'm not going to jail. They was like, no, you are.
And what's confusing because you said that you were living with your parents at the time when you had your girls at the school too.
I stayed on Hartford. I was going back and forth because I was in college. I was working part time, and my parents helped. And they made it sound like that was unheard of for my culture to grandparents to help with grandchildren.
That's what we do.
I was like, what? Yeah, I was like, wait, what? Even when I went on Dr. I don't know if you knew about that. Went on Dr. Phil, and I was like, that's what we do. And they was like, really? Like, y'all don't take care of y'all grandkids?
That's what it was plenty of time where, listen, we got out of school, we went to Granny's house.
That's
we went
right.
to Granny's house until Mom got off work.
That's it.
That's what it was. Sometimes Granny and Pawpaw came and picked us up from school.
Thank you.
Because Mommy couldn't come get us.
That's
like that's
right.
just what it was.
It was
It was a village. It was a support. It was
Yes.
it was our own community to
Support
to help
system. Yeah.
everybody. Right.
You're supposed to. If my children don't have any children yet, but when they do, I'm gonna be right there.
Right.
You know, it's not I don't want nobody else to deal with my grandchildren.
Right.
I'm gonna want to do it.
So when they when they told you they had the private investigator, did they pull out like pictures of you leaving your residence and stuff like that?
It was on the news. It was on the news. So they had video of me like standing there at the bus stop with my daughters, or they would be at the other house, you know, early in the morning.
Leaving to go to the bus stop and stuff like that.
Yep, they have footage.
Oh, Kelley, I'm getting triggered. Okay. So let me give you a little bit of context of myself, right? All right, so I told you I graduated from Copley in 2007. I moved out. My mother got remarried. We grew up. All my mother's people are from the east side. We moved from the east side when my mother got remarried. We moved out to Copley though. My stepfather and his daughters, they had already been going to Copley schools before we had been out there. But I had went out there from middle school on to high school, right? We were living in the Copley district, up until, my older sister graduated from there. Me and my younger sister ended up graduating from Copley. But in 2000, I think it had to be 2006, 2005, 2006, going into my junior year of school. We had always lived in Copley-Fairlawn District, but my mother and my stepfather, they had built the house in like one of those new developments, kind of like, it was like on the line of Copley and Revere school districts, right?
Okay.
So so if you know where Hametown is, right, they bought a house over there in the development. Nice house, nice areas, whatever.
Right by Medina line.
Yes.
It's right before you get to Medina.
Yes.
Line.
So right before you get to Medina line, we stayed in the development over there, right? Now, technically, that's 5 minutes away from Copley High School.
Yeah.
Literally 5 minutes away from Copley High School driving. But technically, it is Revere school districts, right? You know what I'm saying? So again, I had been going to Copley my whole school. I played sports, things like that. 2006, we get a letter in the mail. Yo, you're not living in the school district. We have proven facts that you live in another school district, right? Had pictures of me getting out of my car early in the morning and driving, show me and my people these pictures and stuff like that of me getting into my car early in the morning, clearly living outside of the school district. But what I remember about that time period is that I wasn't the only one. Like, I remember it being a thing for like other black kids at that time, that they was cracking down on us living out of the district. It was a lot of us, right? In that early 2000s time period. Because if you also remember too, Copley is a predominantly white area. It's a suburb, affluent area especially during that time, right? And the early 2000s were in a lot, and again, I know this firsthand because my mother and stepfather, they worked for Chrysler, right? And a lot of our parents, in that time frame, a lot of the people who worked in those auto industries, and whether it be Ford, Chrysler, whatever, a lot of us were living in those areas, right? So it was like with an influx of black kids going out to those areas in those early 2000s. So it was a lot. So if you look at like the yearbooks of Copley, the 80s and 90s, slowly but surely you just see more. And in them early 2000s, way more black kids start coming. And I remember being in school and not being the only one where it was a lot of us who was getting caught living outside the district, right? And I was blessed. I have to be able to, speak to the privilege that I had, right? You know what I'm saying? My parents had decent jobs, you know what I'm saying? So when they called us, when they said that we were living outside of the district, and mind you, I was playing sports too. We had a fairly decent, athletic program, basketball program and stuff like that. So these white folks is making, they helping me out for real. They looking out. So they like, all right, what y'all want to do so we can make sure he can stay? So the one thing that they said is like, all right, next year, it don't matter if he living outside the district, because that time he'll be grandfathered in. He'll be a senior. He's already been in the district for this time, so he'll be able to be here. So if you can just make it to next year.
Isn't that something?
So that was the first flag right there. Wait, what you mean if you there's a thing where you can get grandfathered in? So that was the first flag that raised my mom's eyebrows, like, this don't make no sense. And because she was always like, he been going to school here since 5th grade. Like, what we talking about? This little time period, and none of it was really making any logical sense.
Yeah. And
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, you okay? Take your time.
Because they put us through so much hell. And we knew it. My friends were telling me about boys that was playing sports and they was letting them stay. And just to hear you say that makes it, I know I'm crying, but actually it makes me feel better because it's like, you did that because you just didn't want, my girls didn't play sports. They didn't play sports. They were just average kids, and they just didn't want us out there because we were black. And the attorney I had, he told us, this is the second attorney, not the first attorney, the David Singleton, the one that came to try to really help me. He kept saying, you cannot say it's prejudice or it's bias. You cannot say that. But clearly it was different. You know what I'm saying?
Racial bias.
It was racial bias because my cousin, I have an older brother. And he was telling me, he was like, nah, he was like, there's some boys out there right now. And that's probably, he was talking about you. He was like, they play basketball. He was like, and they go out there and see. And then I had friends, me and this lady, and I would never say her name. And I still won't say her name to this day. We commuted our kids. It wasn't just me. Her kids lived in Akron too, right behind me, like on, I don't know, I forgot what street, but anyway, she lived Nome or somewhere, Noble. And I would go over there and get her boys and take them out there. Her boys played sports. So they never, ever, ever stopped them. So why did they, why?
So my mother was like, God rest my mother's soul. My mother passed away a few years ago, back in 2020. But my mother, those who know my mom was like, my mom was a firecracker. She was a little lady, but she was with the shit, so all the way. You know what I'm saying? But she was also like, she was also very clear and like letting me know what it was. Like, period. Like, don't get this twisted. They only letting you stay here because you play ball.
Yes.
Like, period. Like, if you ain't play sports, they would not want you over here. She was clear on letting me know, like, bro, you lucky. Like, you know what I'm saying? And thank God that we got decent jobs because we able to kind of like figure a workaround. We tried the stuff where I used my cousin's address who lived in Copley. I used a good friend of mine who lived in Copley. We did both of those. And those are the things that they end up catching us like, nah, we can't do that. So my mother and my stepfather, they ended up having to get a 1-bedroom apartment in the Martin houses out there.
Right. That's right there.
Right where you was at.
That's right there.
So that was where they was like, all right, you got to stay here. You know what I'm saying? To include us in the, to be considered living in the district.
In the district, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it was clear to me. It was clear to me that they were making choice. Like they were, if you didn't fit a certain type of criteria, you wasn't.
You weren't accepted.
Because there were other black boys we went to school with that lived outside of the district that ain't play sports. They got them up out of there. So my mom was really clear on letting me be known what it was.
Yeah.
And that always that just didn't feel right. You know what I'm saying? But I'm a kid. I'm trying to get.
Yeah, you gotta. Yeah, you gotta.
You gotta do what I gotta do. But it always just felt. I knew something wasn't right, and I knew that all right, this is racism on a real institutional level and a systemic level. And I don't care what y'all say about what's going on. This is clear cut, not right. So a few years later, when I heard your story, I'm like, yo, they are railroading this lady. Like they doing, and to hear you say that, yo, we wasn't even in there for 18 months. They came and got you, and they really sound like they tried to make an example out of you.
The judge said that if it's still footage on Good Morning America where they were, and it's like a quick clip, and the judge Cosgrove has said, we need to set an example, and we're going to use you to do that. She said it on national TV, that she wanted to make an example out of my situation to deter other parents from bringing their kids into the district. So I mean, it was heavy. It was so heavy, and it was a big division. They made it like a division between Akron and Copley.
Right.
It was. I had never seen anything that could make such a huge uproar in our community, and then I'm like, dang, I remember just asking God, praying, just walking through the house and dropping to my knees in the middle of the hallway or something, just praying, asking God, I don't know what's going on. But please help me, show me what am I to do? I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know, but my dad, he died. They sent him to jail. He died. It was ugly. No parent or grandparent should ever have to deal with a situation like that. My dad loved us so much. We were such a tight family. And for him to die sick, alone, 100 miles away, shackled. They treated him like he was a rapist or a murderer. They had my dad shackled to a bed with his legs and his hands where he couldn't move. He couldn't talk. He had a trach. He was on his health just went down. Dialysis, everything. He was just messed all up. And you see your parents, they're bigger than life to you.
Right.
Your parents you look at your daddy, a big, strong man, and he's always been big and strong. I mean, my father was just big. He wasn't fat. He was a Muhammad Ali body type, just fit, And my mom was just this little lady and stuff, and he was just so strong, and it just tore our family, up. And that's why, even to this day, I fight. I fight for so many parents. Like, I traveled the country, and that's why I said it's such an honor for me to be here in Akron with you right now, because I traveled this country. I've been to New York, LA, everywhere, Texas, everywhere, and I fight for equality of education for all children and grandparents and parents, that we should all have equal access to a good education. I just became an ambassador for Ed Choice.
Good for you.
Congratulations. Thank you. I'm a liaison for another organization called Available to All. I will never stop fighting for justice with that, because that was so unjust. When all this was happening, I called it, I said, they're litigation gangsters. They're gangsters. They're bullies. These are bullies.
That's right.
And
they was all working in cahoots against you.
All of them.
And the fact that they really, they knew what they were doing, and
the judicial system, the school
system.
I got a lady from NPR right now. She's here. She's not. She just left like 2 days ago. She's traveling back and forth. They won't give her like she said. Well, can I get the? She's an NPR reporter. She's a reporter,
journalist or something.
Journalist. She's a journalist. She said she went to the school. She said, "Can I get the emails that you had to go?" No, we ain't got them no more. Schools keep everything forever.
Yeah, they keep the records forever.
They keep everything.
Right. Yeah,
they won't give them to her. They won't give them to her. Why?
Man, listen. Copley-Fairlawn schools, man, y'all are a racist school district. Yes. Don't ever get that twisted. You know what I'm saying? Like, and again, I know sometimes people, like I've had my own fair share of like, back and forth with some of the people that, that went to school. Because some people consider it like, yo, we helped you out, Joe John. I'm like, yeah, but that's not what it's about. Again, two things can be true. I can recognize my blessings and my privilege, you know what I'm saying, and still call y'all out on the bullshit that, y'all still do to black folks every day, you know what I'm saying? And that never sat right with me, knowing that they sent this black woman to jail and her father to jail, you know what I'm saying, for trying to help her babies. And to know the details that you just presented, I had no idea that y'all weren't even in the school anymore.
No, we weren't.
It makes no sense. That was clearly done to try to keep them black kids out of that school for a variety of they racist reasons. You know what I'm saying? So that's just that's awful. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves, for that. Has anybody I would imagine nobody, I'm sure nobody has ever tried to make that right or try to, get in contact with you, especially with like the media publicity and things like that.
Oh no,
you get national pub, but you don't get no local coverage and stuff like that.
I don't get much, but it's, I know to me, it didn't matter, because a lot of times you have to go away to be recognized from where you're from.
That's a fact.
So
trust me, I believe. I know.
Yeah. So I was okay with that. I was okay. It started immediately. From the moment the show called The Talk, and then Dr. Phil, and then all these organizations. The Bushes came to me, and I've been doing advocacy work for Jeb Bush and for different organizations. Ed Choice, and just just an array of different things. The documentary, I got a documentary that the lady, her name is Stacey McClam. Follow her, you guys, on IG. Her name is Stacey McClam. She's doing a documentary on on the case, on me, on what I've been doing for she's been following me for like 4 years, you know. She just wrapped it up, so she's getting ready to start putting it out there to the film things. Look, Colin Kaepernick, he talked about me on Netflix. I don't know if you know that, but in his second episode.
Oh, you know what? I did know that. You talking about the like the Colin Black and White?
Yes.
I do remember him. Dang, I vaguely remember that now that you say that.
Yeah,
I remember him saying, he said you by name, didn't he?
Yeah, he replayed it, a quick snippet, like a replay of the
He made an example. He was referencing your situation as an example.
And if anybody watched this, please tag him because I always want, when people do things like that, I always want to say thank you. And if they could, do that, I would really appreciate it, because that just keeps my fight even more alive.
I'm a huge mental health advocate, right? And like a mental health person, right? How was your mental health? How were you at that time? Like, what was your mental state at that time? Just going through all of that.
I was depressed. You see, I still got a lot of emotions about it. I was depressed, very depressed for months. Got very small. Even when I went to jail, I was supposed to do 10 days, and I did 9 of the 10 days in the county jail. And I didn't eat anything. I was just very withdrawn in my head. I was in my head a lot because when I came home, I'll tell you this story. When I came home, I had a lot of spiritual things that happened to me too. But I'll tell you this first. So when I came home, I was quiet. And I remember my mom and dad, it was, well, why are you so quiet? I don't know why I was quiet. I was just quiet. I can't say, well, I'm quiet because I don't know. So much stuff going on with this, my kids, y'all, my dad, they had to they retried him, talking about, oh, well, since they couldn't get him on that, it was like, oh, you still owed $100,000 of health insurance. He had strokes. He was in the hospital. How do you steal health insurance? And you sick. And you should have been on, I think he was on disability. He should have been on SSI or either the opposite way around or something like that.
Where was the legal actions being taken from? Was it being done in Akron? Who was charging y'all? Was it the city of Akron or was it in Copley courts? Who was who?
It was Akron. Their courts was Summit. This is Summit County. So anything Summit County is
right here, Akron.
So, but wait, it was something I wanted to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. But it was something I was going to.
You were saying something about they said that your father had stole health insurance. How did he had strokes? How did he steal health insurance? Right.
How did he steal health insurance? And so they put him. So they said you go to the penitentiary for 1 year. You served, and then of course he died. He never made it home. Until we had to get a. He passed away, so we just had to bring his body back from the hospital that he was at. Because when you're in a penitentiary, they have a hospital at Ohio State University. So what I understand, I don't know if this is for everybody or whatever, but they had him go to that hospital that was at the Ohio University on a certain floor, and it's for people who are that's been in jail, incarcerated. But wait, it was something I was going to tell you that was, so I remember, my parents were saying, okay, I was being quiet. So they snipped, okay, so my attorney knew the head psychiatrist, CEO of Cleveland Clinic. So he was like, I need you to go up there. So I said, okay. So I went up there. They did a battery of tests because you asked me how was my mind. So they did a battery of tests. So I got to tell you this story. The first half of the morning, because this was like an all-day thing. The first half of the morning, I'm doing like paperwork. They're just asking me basically the same thing over and over and over again, just differently. Like, do you feel suicidal? Do you feel like you want to hurt yourself? Do you feel like you want to hurt someone else? Do you, it was all of that just differently asked for 3 hours of paperwork. Just the same thing, basically just saying, how do you basically want to get into my psyche, into my, how I'm feeling. I never wanted to hurt myself, and I never want to hurt anyone. So whatever. So I did that. Then we had a break. I had to go to lunch. When I came back, it was like 1:00. Now from 1 to 3, I'm in the office with them. And they got a couch, and I'm like, oh, y'all really do got couches, huh? And so I'm laying on the couch. I was, because you see it on TV, but you don't know it's real.
Right.
So I'm like, he really do got a couch.
Yeah, uh-huh.
So he we just talking. He seemed like he's a really cool guy and everything. Okay, so he gave me these cards, and these cards are called ink spots. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, where you look at something to see you have to tell them what you see.
Right. So it was maybe a dozen of them, maybe 14 of them. I don't know. So I'm looking at them. I don't know. Maybe I might see a bunny. I might have seen little animals or whatever. I remember one time I saw 3 men that looked like they had KKK hats on. But then I just started seeing nothing but, man, this was crazy. I started seeing nothing but angels. And they were like archangels, falling angels, big angels, tiny, tiny angels, angels with super long beards all the way down to the ground, angels that was like on maybe a big huge rock. And they're just there, and they're opening, they got this Bible. And I'm like, how did you get, in my mind, I was like, how did you get these angels on this paper? And he said, show me the angels. And I showed him this stuff. He was like, He didn't give me his opinion or anything. He asked me, are you religious? And I was like, well, I like to think I am. I'm definitely spiritual, And he said, okay. He said, well, I'll tell you one thing. He said, I've done Jeffrey Dahmer. He named like some of the top people he's ever done, but I know he said Jeffrey Dahmer. He said, no one has ever said they seen angels. And I was like, wow, so that stood with me, to let me know that I'm not alone.
Right. The creator was with you the whole way.
He was with me the whole way.
Yeah, for sure.
And I believe in true energy. Like because when all that happened, when all of that happened, I remember rethinking it in my mind, in my bedroom. And then, a lot of times I didn't give my children at that. Now I'm not giving my kids me anymore, because I'm in my bed, depressed. I'm in my bed, and I'm not getting up. I'm not going to make breakfast. I'm not going to be interactive with them. They're kind of like, now they're growing up by themselves, because I'm kind of staying in my room talking about, you could have did this different. Why didn't you do that?
Right.
Why didn't you just do this? Or why didn't you just do that? I'm literally replaying this all day, every day. And I felt this big because the whole world felt like people from Australia was calling me. It felt like the whole world knew. And I felt this big. I'm like, what on earth is going on? This was not me. How is all of this going on? And I felt, and I never was a person, people just knew my business. To me, that was deeply my business.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Still private matters, man.
Very. And so I remember laying there on the bed, and I had a little Yorkie. And she was at the end of the bed. I would never let her up there by me. She had to. And she was a little Yorkie, but she was my baby, because she was everything to me. And especially when that happened. Now she's everything. All my emotional, everything I need, she's that for me. So she's laying at the end of the bed, and I'm laying there. And I had this, what are those things called? Those big water things you put in your room, and you can press on it and water come out. The clear water.
Oh, okay, right, okay.
I had clear water. It was not plugged up, right? This might sound crazy. I'm about to tell you this. It wasn't plugged up. And it had never done this before. So I knew it was energy. And I've never done anything like this before. But I knew it was energy, because I'm laying there and I'm thick with it. Like the room is heavy. The room is heavy. And all of a sudden the water container started gulping, like as if I'm pressing down, as if I'm pressing down, and water's coming out into a cup. It just was like gulp, gulp, and I know I'm not crazy, because my dog looked up at it. That's when she looked, and I know when every time she looked, and I
ain't tripping.
Right. She co-signed. She was looking like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know, Pebbles. And then I said, that's me, because I was so engulfed, meditated on that on what if, why didn't,
Yeah,
why did I do this?
You was fixated on all the
All
negativity
of
of
it.
it. Yeah.
Yep. And then when my dad died, when he died, we got a call. My mom called and said, he's gone. And I remember laying there again. And then at the end of my bed, something made a noise. And I was like, he's in here. My dad came he's here. I know he was there, But I mean, that was all that was. But it was the whole thing was deep, and I wrote it, and that's why.
What were some of the other spiritual experiences you had? During that time, did they all take place before you ended up getting incarcerated? Did you have some when you was there too? Like,
I'm glad you asked that.
Tell me more about those.
I wouldn't even mention this if you hadn't just said that. What made you ask that?
The energy, I guess, is just the divine order of it. I guess God is in this room too.
Man, let me tell you. So one night, me and my little road dog, she had to go out, and I would let her out, and it was still kind of warm out. So okay. So I walked downstairs in the foyer. I'm over on Hartford, and kind of like this area right here, right? I'm right here, and I'm letting her go down to the. Oh, y'all got dogs.
Nah, them my neighbor's dog. There's somebody else walking their dog.
Oh, well, why they let them use the bathroom?
See, look at them, man. They white folks doing whatever they want to around here, man.
Little shit out of here.
Hey, make sure you pick up your shit.
Yes. Like, that's rude. but so I let her out. Okay, but wait. So here I am, right? I bend down to put her little collar on because she thought she was bigger than life. She thought she could beat up anything. So I had to put the little collar on to make sure she didn't get too far. When I bent down, I'm looking at these red orbs. So I'm like, is it I'm looking for a fire engine. I'm looking for a fire truck. I'm looking for a police, like something. Maybe I'm thinking there's something out there. It's nothing. It's quiet. I'm like, these are orbs. I've never seen an orb. Well,
what's an orb?
I don't know exactly what an orb is, but it was red. And to me, that was telling me, you getting ready to go through something. Looking back on it, hindsight.
Right, in hindsight. Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm not some person to see things and stuff all the time or nothing like that. So I'm like, what is these red? And it was like this. They were just moving. It was like an alert. It was telling me you getting ready to go through something. But I don't know. I didn't know what that was. I remember, the next day telling my mom, and I was like, man, I seen these red orbs on the wall out of nowhere. And in the foyer, really, it's funny how your house is made, because that's kind of like how my place was made. Because in that foyer, there's really nothing else but from that window that could really show up on the side of your closet there, right? Mm-hmm. Not really. You got houses, you got stuff here, so nothing could. If there's a fire truck back there, you really can't see it from there in that foyer, inside of there.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm seeing it's moving around, whatever. So I said, all right. So it went away. I let the dog go out. She did her business. She came back in. It was gone, but then when she came back in, I went to take the collar off, the leash off. It came back. Now it's on the other door. It's on the door, and it's just like. And I'm just looking at it. I'm like, what on earth is that? But then that was it. Like, that was it. Nothing else happened afterwards. That was it.
But that happened before.
It happened before. And I was like, when I told my parents, oh my goodness. See, some things happened before, and I don't know what, and I'm going to say something else. Oh, Lord, I hope people don't think I'm crazy.
No,
But one day, I'm coming off the highway to come to my parents' house, and I'm getting ready to get off on Copley, and I'm like maybe a quarter of a mile before you get off. Man, I saw something that was amazing. I'm driving, and out of nowhere, this massive cloud, a cloud that was shaped as a huge bird. Big as a 747, though. It was massive. Flew right in front of me. And it went like this. The tips of it was in formation. The tips went like this. All the way down. One whoosh. It didn't keep like you see birds. No. It took one. And that thing was over the medium. And it went into the woods. And I went to my parents' house. And I told them that. And my mom and dad, it was just like, because they know me. And they know I've seen things even when I was a little girl, other stories.
Listen, you got me when you said you fell out the car as a little baby, wouldn't landed was one scratch. I told you had covering on you from the jump, so I ain't surprised by nothing you saying. This, God has been obviously evident in your life for a long, you know what I'm saying, for a long time in a variety of different ways, for sure.
And I thank God so much. I thank God for this moment. I thank God, and I'm glad you said that, because I want to stop and just absolutely give God all the glory, because he, at the end of the day, I lost my father,
right?
But I've helped. I have helped so many other parents, and that's part of the chain of life. That's what are you here for?
Right.
And you have to be here to give back, to do something, to be something. This is time. We're on time. God deposit 24 hours every day that we are living. He deposits 24 hours in your account. And it's up to me to use that credit, to debit it, do whatever I got to do it. Everything has to have a balance, But I'm just saying, I just wanted to say that real quick, is that, I just give all this, everything to God, everything.
Yeah. You listen, you're right. Your purpose is so much bigger than, and it's so, you said something earlier, like, sometimes you got to get on outside of your hometown, and, either your hometown will catch on later or they won't catch on at all.
That's right.
But there are people who resonate with your story all around the country, all around the world, for real. You know what I'm saying? And your story is going to help people when you no longer here anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be a testimony for somebody. It's just unfortunate that you had to be railroaded and taken advantage of, because you shouldn't even have been in that position in the first place.
No.
To have to even make those decisions, right? You know what I'm saying? And you didn't the decisions you made were out of protection of your children. You made decisions out of the betterment of your children, to have a certain type of education and them being in a certain type of environment.
Absolutely. And to be safe.
Right.
My house, somebody had broken into my home, and I couldn't imagine having, my kids trying to walk home from Schumacher by themselves, going in there. Hartford was not, to me, it wasn't a bad street or anything.
Right. That ain't really the hood, but it ain't.
Right, but
it's not the suburbs.
Right, for my home to be broken into, that was a
violation.
That's a whole nother violation. That make you feel some kind of way when something like that happens. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Right, that's the thing too about kind of dispelling that myth about being in the suburbs or being in these white schools is necessarily safer, right? Because it's a whole different level of oppression that we deal with out there. That, you know what I'm saying? Just because you ain't dealing with certain environmental stuff that you may be dealing with in the hood, you still got to deal with a whole nother level of violence, whether it's an emotional and mental violence that you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, being in those environments too, right? So we got to dispel that myth too. Like we can't automatically think that being in these school systems is necessarily better. It don't work like the way. And I know that firsthand, because I went through all of the systems. I went through private school, then I went to school in the suburbs for predominantly white schools. And I can 100% speak to the emotional and the and the mental violence that occurs in those institutions.
My oldest daughter, she told me that I guess they were talking about my kids when they were there, because I remember my oldest daughter, she told me, now this is in Copley, before I got that letter from Teodosio saying just remove the kids. My oldest daughter said she was at her locker, and a teacher came up to her and was telling her, you don't belong here, we don't want you here. I mean, she's a child.
Right, crazy.
She's a
crazy.
Child.
You're crazy.
And to this day, she's traumatized from that.
Never will forget that.
Never forget it. She has had, with interviews, they've had interviews with, different organizations and different things in media. And every time she breaks down about it. She hates that you were not wanted. Like, lady, you're a teacher. What gave you the right to go and walk up to a child and tell that child anything? So childhood trauma is real. People go through so much and we don't even realize. And then the residuals of it is when you become an adult, and now you got to deal with your social skills or
Right.
different things.
How much time did you do? How much time? How long were you locked up?
I had to stay at the county, and I was there for 10 days, but I did 9 of the 10, and I was on probation for 3 years, and had to write a letter to the judge saying what I did wrong. I had to do like it was a lot of hours of community service, which Pastor Glenn from Macedonia
Yeah, I know
Church.
Pastor Glenn. Shout out Pastor Glenn. He been on the
Yeah.
podcast before.
Has he?
Yeah, he
Okay.
actually sat down with us. Was it last year? Whenever the when the Jalen Walker murder happened, him and a couple other pastors came on and we spoke about that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so
Okay.
shout out Pastor Glenn.
Yeah, Pastor Glenn. He was the man, and he came, and he was a big supporter. It was funny. A lot of or interesting. It was a lot of pastors came. A lot of pastors in our community came to support, and stuff. And let me tell you something else. Since we talking about that, there was one pastor that came to me. This was after it all had happened. It was done, and Pastor Glenn had asked me to come to this community. See, I didn't even know this. So what they do is every year or every so often, whatever, they have all these pastors come and they do this. They all come together from all the white pastors, black, all of them. They come and they do some kind of, where they just come camaraderie and they do something together. Mm-hmm. And he asked me to come and I went. So this one gentleman walks up to me. He said, do you remember me? And I said, no. Well, then I looked at him. I was like, he kind of looked familiar, but I mean, there was a lot going on. Where do I know you from?
Yeah.
He said, I was one of your jurors. I said, oh, okay. He said, yeah. He said, the prosecutor asked me to be on this. I was like, oh, really? See what I'm saying? So you were asked to be on the jury, to be a juror. So is that how we do it? But you make it sound like we getting people of my peers random. No, it's not. It's not. It's thick. This is deep. People don't know how deep this judicial system is. That's why I call them litigation gangsters, because they are.
That's right.
They manipulate, they formulate, they do what they want to do.
That's right. Strategically, you know what I'm saying, put things in place to manipulate the outcome the way they want to.
Oh man,
they made create the narrative that they want.
They made me look like I was the worst person ever. Mm-hmm. And then, so one of the things they said I did, they said that I stole about my kids' lunch. I wasn't making any money. I was my taxes showed that I wasn't making any money. So what they tried to do was they wanted to say, but look, she said what they did was they looked at the paper and they said, well, you said that you're black and you're Indian, and so look at her, she's lying. You don't know what I am.
Try to mess up your credibility.
Yes, I remember that so easily. But and people were like, wait a minute. Okay, did she qualify? Mm-hmm. Yes, she qualified. But you didn't want to say I qualified, but I qualified because you clearly my taxes showed that I was only making nothing. You had mentioned an attorney who came on late who tried to help after the first one, wasn't really doing anything. Was there any other support that people tried to come and really try to get behind you to support you here in the city? Did anybody try to really support you? In Akron, I mean, I hate to say that. I don't think so. I mean, I had my close friends. I have shout out to my friend Carla Wrench. Hey, shout out Carla. What's happening, Carla? I had her. I had my friend Cayenne and a couple of close friends. Again, a few churches and things. But as far as like, I'm trying to think communities. Yeah, like or just to be able to even if it was assisting with like the legal aspect of it, helping you get a fight for the. It was always outside. It was always outside of Akron because the again they got so many people here hemmed up thinking that what they say is Bible. Right. I mean, for real, and it's scary because it's like, well, how many people is in jail right now that should not be down? Right now. Right. Yeah, they twisted the narrative to make people choose sides, and Oh yeah, they gotta do that because they knew that if they had not, then a lot of people would have sided for me. Absolutely. I did hear that people were, there were people. Oh, and now during the when I got sentenced. A lot of people came. Of course, my cousins, my family, my Alicia, Tammy, all them, Tracy, all them, my cousins, they was there to support me and stuff, But outside of that, I don't know. I don't know of any organizations that really. Luckily, Akron Public Schools, the superintendent here, he was like, "We ain't about to fire her." You know how many people do this?
Right.
I love that he said that.
Right.
Because a lot of teachers went against me. They was like, "Why would she do that?" Da da da. And he was like, "Y'all kick rocks.
Right.
How many of y'all kids go here?
Right.
And y'all got them probably going somewhere else.
Right. That's right.
You know, so I was really happy about that.
Talk about your father and your father's influence. You spoke to it earlier, man. He really, he really stepped up and tried to protect y'all as much as he could. You know, from with your mother, from you and your girls. Like, speak more about his influence and just like how your father really stepped up in those moments, and even like just his influence on you today. Like, just speak more about your father.
My dad, it was amazing. He was an amazing, amazing, amazing man. And I remember we were really little. I wasn't really little, but I was probably like from the 4th grade, probably all the way up until I got ready to graduate from high school. I remember him saying, him and my mom, they had their issues or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They would separate and get back together, but their love was they had the best relationship.
Right.
I'm telling you, me and my friends would come in when I started, getting a little older and I could drive or whatever. We would come in and my mom and dad would be at the table, candlelight dinners, music, OJ's
okay.
playing.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
vibe.
Like
Okay.
they would be having their music. My dad be in her ear like he just met her.
Okay.
That was the lifestyle. That's what
Right.
I saw
That's
every
what you
day.
seen every day.
Every day, he was very into my mother, and my mom was into him, and it was beautiful how their love was so. It was just deep, man. I remember my friends used to be like, we would come in the house and my mom and dad be sitting there, talking and stuff, music playing, whatever. And we got so much footage of us, videos. My dad always wanted to have video. He was like, show the kids growing up, show everything. So we got plenty of footage and videos of my mom and dad dancing. Let me see if I can find anything. My mom and dad dancing and just enjoying each other. Oh my goodness! If I can find this, you're gonna love it. My dad was a strong man, tenacious. Just I don't know why it's not even showing. Oh, there you go. He was just a strong man and a man of worth, and he had his own business and of course, he got older, he got sick, different things of that nature, but man, he was powerful. And I'm gonna see if I can pull up some.
What's some of the things he instilled in you that you still keep true to you today?
My dad always said when we were little, he always said, thoughts become things with wings that fly. So you must imagine it if you want it. And I remember having to basically regurgitate that back to him when he got weak, when he was in the penitentiary, when he was sick. And I was like, Daddy, no. I said, you got to be strong because remember you told us your mind, it's all in the mind. And I told him, I said, remember you always said thoughts become things with wings that fly. You must imagine it. You must see it here to have it, and but man, my dad was a tough cat. Like I told you, his whole physique, his whole body, everything about him he was a tough cookie, man. And my mom, she doted on him. And I said all in this book, my mom doted over my father. I can't believe I don't have that picture here because I had this beautiful thing when they're dancing, and I don't see it right here right now. I don't know what the heck. I don't know what I was thinking about. Why that's not on here anymore. But I'll show you. Let me show you. Let me see. I don't have it. But this is him back in the day when we lived on Known.
Okay. Oh yeah, okay. I can see this dude sitting at the dinner table in his girl's ear. I can see this right. I can see it. I see
Right.
the vibe. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. No doubt, man.
He was a slick dude.
No doubt. I can see that.
And he thought he was just that guy who comes from that that era,
Mm-hmm.
And this is my mom with the red on. That's her aunt. That's my great aunt but that's her
Okay.
with the little and so she would just, you see what she doing.
Yeah, but they getting to it. Yeah, they getting to it a little
always-
bit. Yeah, and
always
she got
having-
the big smile on too. Yeah,
They
Mom was
was
pouring up a little bit. All right,
They
yeah.
was always having a good time together, and so to see to see, him build his empire. He found land, built his beautiful home in Copley and stuff. And just always he was that guy when he was super young. He was that guy that everybody in the family would call when something went down at the sand pile. You might not know nothing about the sand pile.
That's before my time, but I know a little bit about
the sand pile. Was the spot for years. And if anything was going to go down in Akron,
go down there.
Sand pile. And I remember my dad and stuff, talking about, hey, y'all can't call me all the time. Now I got a family now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I got a wife. I got 2 kids, 3 kids really, because he had my oldest brother, Andre, and then he had me and my brother with my mom and myself, or him. And but yeah, my dad was amazing. I mean, like, he was really a champion. Like, even when they would break up, my dad he come to get my mama.
Right.
He would drive. He didn't care what kind of hoopty he had.
Right.
He come into because my mom would go to North Carolina because that's where she's from, and he would drive that car down there. He'd be like, "I'm coming to get my wife," and then she'd go back with him because the love was so intense.
Yeah.
They had a love that you just don't see. You just don't see. I didn't see it then too often, and I don't see it now. My mom, she stayed with him until he passed. But he was a bad dude.
Talk about talk about some of the work and stuff that you're doing today. That's kind of your story has kind of led you to doing
advocacy work.
Advocacy work you doing and stuff today.
Well, okay, so I do a lot of speaking engagements. I do, people call me and they ask me to speak on education. They ask me to speak on my story. They ask me to speak on the judicial system, which is broken, So I tell my story to hopefully enlighten and maybe hopefully change some revised codes or look into the codes, because see, the thing about the codes are that I could take Ohio revised codes and me and you could do the same thing, but I could take a section of it and say, well, I'm gonna use that on him, but I'm gonna use that other part on her. No, it shouldn't even be like that. I mean, I get that you have to weigh out certain things, yes, but when this comes to what's the word I'm trying to use? Fitting. Does this fit the crime? Does the punishment fit the crime? Yeah. Come on. Let's be logical here. And so so I do a lot of that. I started off doing went on Dr. Phil. I think that catapulted me to helping to the Bushes contacting me, and so whenever they call, I go and do advocacy work for them. Different people in New York will call me, and I've been up there and I've done documentaries for them for their whatever they were doing. I've done things for them, just whatever. I've my speaking engagement, the documentary that Stacey McClam is doing. In LA, I'm doing work with her. Now I'm working with a lady with NPR who comes down and she's like a reporter and she's trying to tell a story. Her thing is she's trying to tell a story with her NPR, with her funding that she got for doing this. People have, I don't deny anybody. I try my best to be very open and flexible and talk to anyone with this, because I feel like this needs to continue to stay alive so it won't happen again. Because Malcolm X said, if you let something, basically I'm ad-libbing, if you let something die, it can come back. You know what I'm saying? I forgot his phrase, but it's like, basically, if you forget it, it can happen again. So you can't forget this. You have to keep this going, because I don't want to see another mom or dad go through this. I don't want to see a grandparent go through this. I don't want to see a division in a city like it was, it's just ridiculous. So yeah, I just do anything I can, to help. Yeah. And don't think I get paid. Don't think she get. I just now am getting to the point where a couple organizations are being able to say, hey, we got the funding, and they'll pay out some so many dollars or something like that, and I do something for them. I worked with an organization called Yes Every Kid, and they were fairly new last year. And I just did. I just helped them write with an editor different scenarios about what happened to me, different sections of what happened. Maybe one section was all about my dad, one section was about me, one section was about the entire family, one section was about the judicial system and all of that. It was like that. So I'm just out here. And I work at the high school. I work with students with behaviors. I got cussed out today. I got cussed out yesterday. I'll probably get cussed out tomorrow, because that's the population of students that I work with.
Right.
They have behaviors, and I try my best to redirect their thought process and to breathe life and greatness and good positive things into these students every single day of my life. That's
They know your story, the kids?
this group right here that's here now, they don't know. But for years, man, sometimes I'm walking through the halls and somebody maybe in an art room, they got to go through some old magazines and they be like, hey, she in the Jet magazine or she in the Ebony or just like that lady, Oh, let me tell you. So one day, some years ago, we sitting in the classroom and the head teacher, I love her. Her name was Erica Glover.
Yeah, shout out Erica.
Erica, hey
shout out
lady,
Erica.
that's my heart. I love her. So she was teaching, and she had this video. This guy, I forgot his name, but anyway, she had popped it in. Now I'm sitting in the classroom, and she didn't know either. She didn't know, and I'm sitting there and I'm working with a student, math or whatever. And the little girl kept saying, or little boy, I can't remember, it was too long ago. They kept saying, you look just like that person on that in the movie. I'm like, no. And I'm like, come on, stay focused. I looked up, I was like, that is me.
Wow.
And that's happened more than one occasion, where or people would just call me like those actresses out there in LA. Those actresses in LA, they got in trouble about 2 years ago, and all of a sudden Twitter just went crazy with my name because they were saying, no, they weren't gonna let them.
Oh, you talking about the
Huff.
Yeah. You talking about the white girls who did this stuff with their daughters at USC and all that college.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
they was trying to compare them to you.
Yes.
No, hell no.
And so who was that? It was a big time. It wasn't Edition. It was somebody big that knew. It was somebody that called me, and it was a reporter from that whoever that was, and they was like they were telling me as it was unfolding, just like, oh, they're gonna let them go home. What are your thoughts on that? And I was like, I mean, what do you want me to say? And to me, their situation was like, to me, apples and oranges.
Yeah,
like,
that's not even close to the same.
Right. So
I think they was actually stealing money.
They were.
Yeah,
Hillary Huffman or something like that.
I see. You might make me look it up. I can't think of the name off top either. But I remember what you're talking about though.
Yeah. And so that, but I get a lot of, people will contact me a lot about different things, and I still, when people call me if you want me to do some advocacy work. I'm just letting people know that's going to see this, or anybody that's in the education and they need any kind of advocacy or anything of that nature. I just did a mamathon in Atlanta 2 months ago. Just went there, told my story. It was beautiful. Just being amongst all these brilliant women that come together for a better tomorrow. And we went back home just re-energized, just because we were all together and talking about different case scenarios of what's going on in our world. But just knowing that you're around so many strong women or people that are on a same accord for a better tomorrow. It's nothing like that.
Well, Kelley, man, I really appreciate you being here, and I'm so glad that you introduced yourself to me that day in Columbus. Because
Thank you for having me. I'm happy.
Like I said, I vividly remember your story. Having being here, and you've been a topic of conversation here in passing. In one of the iterations that I do in the podcast, I had a segment called For the Lovers with my partner, Dr. Tania Lodge, who's a psychologist here in the area. And we spoken and we mentioned, about the systemic racism that happens, in these school systems, and your story was one of the references that we brought up. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you. I thank you for your service. You know what I'm saying, for the work that you're doing today. And man, you didn't deserve that. You know what I'm saying? You didn't deserve that at all. Especially, again, it's important for me to highlight that and speak from a person who I know that I was one of the lucky ones. I know I was one of the people who got the privilege.
I'm so glad to be here with you and to hear you say that.
Yeah.
Because I knew it was other people.
Yeah.
And then by you saying that, man, I know I got emotional the first round because I think I got emotional. But that first round was like, I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, Hey, and I just want people to know,
Yeah, please do. Go
I
ahead.
do have a book. It's called The Mom. It's on Amazon, but I got a whole box of these books right here at home. So if you want to reach out to me, you can, contact through Mr. Morgan here, and or you can just email me. My email is my full name. It's Kelley Williams-Bolar at gmail.com. And it's Kelley with 2 E's. It's Kelley, Williams with an S, and then Bolar, B as in boy, Olar. And I will get you the book.
That's my copy though, right?
This is your
All right,
copy,
bet.
absolutely.
Let's get it. Let's
That's
get it.
your
I'm gonna
copy,
make sure I dive into this. Thank you so much. I got a couple of rapid questions I gotta hit you with before I get you out of here.
Absolutely.
All right. So the first question is this name of the podcast is called Live Your Purpose. So what is your purpose and how is that connected to what you're doing today?
What is my purpose? What is my purpose? I think my purpose is to bring, honestly, is to bring joy and happiness to people. Yes, what happened to me was horrible, but if they see that I still have a glitter in me after all that happened, then they know that whatever they're going through, they can make it. They can make it. We all have a story. And you might be comfortable enough to tell it. You might not be. I was catapulted into it. I had to tell my story.
Right.
God said, you have no other. I've been trying to get you to this point. You got a job to do. Okay. But I feel like everybody has trials and tribulations from a youngster all the way up. Everybody has something that you got to deal with. My thing is, we all have a book in us. Tell your story. Help someone else out. That's the way of life. If you don't, if you keep bumping your head, God, you gonna keep bumping your head. God wants you to help the next. That's the That's life. That's life. And if you don't see it and you just want to keep everything bottled up, you gonna be sick. You gonna bring hardship to yourself. So be that glitter, be that hope. Be that something, because there's so much other stupid stuff that's going on out here in this world. So that's what I think I am. I tell my kids that all the time. They call me the preacher. Here come Miss Preacher Williams. No, I'm not preaching. I see greatness in you.
Right.
I don't care how bad of a day you call yourself having. You don't know a bad day.
Right.
You getting 3 meals and you getting 2 meals here at the building. I don't know what's going on at home, but you getting all my love right now, right this moment. So I hug these kids. I tell them I love them because I'm working with a population of students who really have some problems dealing with anger management. So if they see I can deal with all the stuff that's going on with them, and I'm just always, that's me. That's who I am. If that's what the question you asked, that's who I am.
Good. What is, if you had to give people one practice that they had to do every day, what would it be?
To understand that we are on precious time, and that deposit that God gives us every day, He gives us 24 hours of deposit. He put that in there. Don't lose it. Don't deduct what's not necessary. Use your time. Time is so valuable, and you don't want to look up and you talking about I coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Right.
That's no.
What's the best advice you ever received?
The best advice I've ever received was always from my parents. My dad, he told me, he said, I will die for you. I will be here for you. I will do anything for you. My dad was, I can't say exactly what the best advice would have been, because this man was, I learned so much from him.
Right.
Way more than anything. He's been gone for 10 years. It's like, and I've learned other things since then. But let me tell you, my dad was the dude.
Right.
Like
can't replace that.
I learned so much from him.
Right.
I learned how to relationships with boys, men. When I was a young girl, I learned how to deal with society, the world, and to laugh and to have joy, and all of that came from my dad and my mom. So that's It had to be my dad. He was
On the flip side, what's the worst advice you ever received?
well, whatever that was, I didn't listen to it.
Right.
I knew. Look, that was stupid.
Right,
I ain't gonna do that.
right,
You
yeah.
know, but it could have been a few things out here, but I won't put my friends on.
All right, okay. What's something people would be surprised to know about you?
What would they be surprised to know about me? What would be? I don't know. I think people don't realize how reserved I am. And that I really am quiet. You know, like I'll post stuff. And then my one friend told me she thought I was an extrovert because I post. I said, girl, please. I am not an extrovert
Right.
because I post something.
Right,
I'm telling you. I mean, you don't see. People have never seen me out. I was never a club person. I was never a person who, promiscuous. I was never all of that. I was very always introverted. I was just always here I am in the corner if you see me.
Right.
Until that situation happened.
Right, when you got put in the public eye.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, Kelley, thank you so much again for coming. This has been wonderful. Thank you for sharing your story with me. I really appreciate it. And again, you didn't deserve that, but I'm thankful to have you here to be able to share your testimony and your story to help other people. It means a lot to me. So thank you for being here. Give people your contact information, how they can get in contact with you, what you may have coming up. Let people know your information, how they can find you.
You guys can find me on. You can find me on Facebook. It's Kelley Williams-Bolar. And I saw that somebody else had my name. It was a man down in Columbus. I was like, what was that about?
Oh, this the real deal right here. This the real deal. Kelley
Like,
Williams-Bolar right here. You know what I'm saying?
Unique name. So I don't know how that happened. But anyway, so you can find me on Facebook, Instagram. My email is my name is KelleyWilliamsBolar@gmail.com. And that's Kelley, Kelley, Williams with the S, Bolar. And also I do want to say I did join the Black Women's Chapter Caucus in Akron. I'm so excited. I just joined that.
Nice.
That is something, I've never been a part of a sorority or anything like that. So me being a part of a women's group here in Akron is huge to me.
Okay,
So
good for you. Good for you. Well, listen, so y'all make sure y'all go check out Kelley's book. They can find it on Amazon, right?
Amazon, yep.
Yeah,
And I
right.
have some too at home. So
All right, so y'all make sure y'all get with Kelley to get her book called The Mom. Justice is just like beauty. It's in the eye of the beholder.
can I tell you real quick before we
Yeah, go
close
ahead.
out? You know where I got that from?
Where?
Justice is just like beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Where?
The prosecutor.
Oh, really? The
Let me
prosecutor?
tell you what happened. So me and my dad, they were picking the jurors out. This is real quick. They were picking the jurors out. And so they made us go outside and sit in the hallway in the court. So we sitting out there, and the prosecutor came out laughing with Copley, chumming it up, just, shoulders, and laughing. And he looked over at me and my dad and snickered. And the prosecutor said, yeah, justice is just like beauty. It's in the eye of the beholder. And I never forgot it.
Yeah, that was foul.
Because what does that mean?
Right, that's foul. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Copley, man, y'all not shit, man. Y'all
And
not
we knew
shit.
we were in trouble when we heard that quote. We knew we are in trouble. We didn't fit.
You knew it was out of your control.
Yeah.
Yeah, you knew it was completely out of your control. Well, yeah, thank you again for coming to share your story. I really appreciate it. Y'all make sure y'all check out Kelley's book. I'm going to make sure I deep dive into this myself. Another episode, y'all. Peace.
Bye.